So another bad day for me in the Volvo. It broke down again. This whole puddle of coolant is on the floor, on the ground. Luckily I was able to drive it and park it temporarily, but we are going to have to get this to the shop to change a freeze plug in here, because these freeze plugs are a little different to change. Here's one of them freeze plugs looks like, and I can't really install it myself because it is literally sitting underneath the exhaust manifold and intake manifold, and it's hard for me to get to. And these freeze plugs are a lot tricky to put in than your American motor freeze plugs. These Swedish or European style, you have to put them in a certain way. So it's leaking under here. It has popped for some reason. I changed that one, or had that one changed, and this one has popped. So as you can see, they're a little bit trickier to put in. I'll go from the other side to show you. As you can see, you have to put them in and they flatten out. There is a built-in lip in the block on these freeze plugs. So that's why it's a little tricky to take them in and take them out. To take them out, you got to drill them. You have to drill them out just like this in order to get them done. So as you can see, I'm having a really bad day. Not only am I a little bit under the weather, this Volvo was going to be already set to be used for my wife's cousin's wedding. He wanted it, and that was going to be like a free advertisement for me that he can rent this Volvo for a wedding. And it looks like, again, my Volvo breaks down. Well, hello bagels. Came to see what parts I have. Anyway, so I'm feeling better. I'm not really under the weather anymore, but I ordered more freeze plugs, or expansion plugs as you call them. And the 45mm one's the one I actually need. So going to supply the mechanic with just these in 2 weeks time. So I got to put it in the car. And I bought a thermostat. I actually don't need it. So as you can see, the thermostat right here. I actually don't need it what I thought I would need it. So it's good to have a spare just in case, but I actually don't need a thermostat. Why I actually needed a thermostat, one person told me that the reason your expansion or freeze plug popped is probably because there was too much pressure and the thermostat didn't open and pop the freeze plug. That's not the case. There's certain scenarios why a freeze plug would pop. Either one, not installed properly, or two, when the water gets frozen, it would pop and save your engine from freezing over or expanding or cracking from if you put water instead of coolant in the wintertime. And third is when you take off that freeze plug, there might be like a where the lip is, because there's a built-in lip in that block. Not like American blocks where you tap in the freeze plug. This lip is actually built in on the block, so you tap it until you can tap no more with on that plug. And if it's not even there's a crack, that could cause a leak and have the freeze plugs to pop as well. But currently, that's what the case is. So, the first week of April, I'm gonna have to call the mechanic, see if he can take this car in, and I'm gonna have him replace that freeze plug that you've seen in the little clip and the two next to it. So he's gonna replace 3 freeze plugs all at once. He replaced the one nearest to the car, to the firewall or whatever you want to call it, to the rear end of the engine. And we're gonna need to replace all the 3 of them. And this is today's right now March 23rd. My wife's cousin's wedding basically happened, and unfortunately I had to break him the news that I couldn't get anyone to fix the car, and he did not have a classic car for his photos, which I wish I did. What he did, but you know, life happens. So hopefully I can finally have someone that is gonna have good use to it. But first I got to take care of the problems. I took care of the engine reliability problems and the tuning. Hopefully, when they take off the carburetors, the intake manifold, and the exhaust manifold, they will not mess up how the carburetors are synchronized together, and the shield will be running right when they put everything back together and put the freeze plugs back together. But they're the ones who fixed the problem on my Volvo, so I'm pretty sure they'll get it running right if they didn't. That's why I don't want to do the work myself, because the freeze plug, to get to the freeze plug, you need to take all that off. And if you take that all off, you might accidentally touch something. And when you put it back on, you don't know what you touch, and the car will be running rough. Because last time, that's what I had another mechanic do, my own mechanic, and it completely messed up the car. But granted, he did put the carburetors upside down when he set them aside. And with the SU carburetors, it did do something to them. Yeah, there she is currently. Oops. Currently under a cover, waiting for repairs. Sorry, my hair is kind of wacko, but I decided to share with you what exactly is going on. I'm changing. As you can see, one of the freeze plugs was changed, and the other three weren't changed. One of them is popped, so I'm going to have to do that. Now, I already talked to the mechanics. I finally found a shop. It took me 3 weeks because technically I've been waiting for 2 weeks to call the mechanic or the shop that I usually take the Volvo to. Because 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, I called and they said, just call us in 2 weeks, and because we're really slammed, and then we'll tell you when you can bring your Volvo in. And I did that, and what ended up happening is no one was answering the phone, and no one's answering the head mechanic's cell phone. The head mechanic is 75 years old and has lung cancer, so sometimes he's really sick and can't make it to work. And at this point, I don't know what happened, but my wife stopped by the shop when I was at work. Gates are closed, shop is closed. Really, like, nothing going on there. So I had to go around and look around for another mechanic. And I'm going to end up paying about $700 because I need to tow my car there. It's 5 minutes from my house, but I need to tow my car there. And I'm going to have to hire a rollback because my wife's dad can't do it. He's really busy with work. So I have no means of transporting the car. And it's going to cost $600 something to change the 4 freeze plugs and the thermostat. I asked those mechanics that I called recently, the different shop. They said that if your thermostat is bad, there is a possibility that you could pop freeze plugs with all the pressure building up. But on the other hand, with the group forums or the groups that I'm on Facebook, they say that's not possible. So I'm not 100% sure, so I'm going to end up replacing 3 freeze plugs and a thermostat. That's going to cost about $700 with the record tow. Now, I'm going to stop by on Friday, the shop, and see if anyone's in there. If someone's there, I'm going to give them a chance to see if they can work on my car. But if no one is there, then I'm going to have to go with the shop. Hey, boy. So that's the shop I usually take it to the Volvo. Finally contacted somebody. Don't know what's going around. Don't know what's going on. But here's the bad news. They're 3 months backed up. And I have no choice but to take it to that shop. I'm not waiting 3 months for some freeze plugs on a car. Okay, put the water thermostat and the freeze plugs for them in. And here's the tow truck coming in to pick her up. So time to give her a start and put her on there. So there she is. Got my Volvo to this shop right here. Hopefully they'll get it fixed. Okay, so as you can see, freeze plugs fixed, car runs perfect, except with that one little thing on the video. The guy working on the freeze plugs, he scratched my brand new painted valve cover. Now, the owner of the shop is really nice, stands by his work. He's going to make the guy repaint that valve cover. So that will be taken care of. Now, the only other thing is he's going to give me a quote on exhaust work. I was thinking about straight piping it, the Volvo, but my wife doesn't want it straight pipe. So that Volvo has 2 mufflers, and one of the muffler has a hole in there, the first one. So what he's going to do is going to give me a quote on how much it costs to delete the first muffler and run new piping into the second muffler.
We probably just cut it out and put the piece in there. You see it?
So she's finally back at my driveway, but I got good news and bad news. Good news is she's done and ready. Bad news is I haven't sold her yet. Another bad news, she's dirty, so I'm gonna have to wash her sooner or later. But since I was in the hospital during this time, I'm not well enough to drive. As a matter of fact, I'm forbidden to drive a car for a week. So she has to get cleaned up and everything. She sounds really nice, as you heard in the video. I deleted one muffler. What happened is the muffler in the middle, the middle of the car was hanging, and I hit a speed bump and it scraped. And when it scraped, it did a hole. And the car was running rough because of that. Now she runs clean. Really, really clean. She runs, as you heard in the video. Now, I'm going to show you guys quickly what she looks under the hood. This place does great work. They stand by their warranty. So in the process of changing the freeze plugs out, because they changed more than one, I'd say change all 3 of the remaining 4 freeze plugs on the side of the block. They repainted the valve cover for me, because when they were working on it, someone accidentally put the carburetors on top of the valve cover and did a deep scratch in the valve cover. So they repainted the valve cover brand new for me, and now she's all good. I'm going to show you quickly how the freeze plugs look like. Not leaking. They're all good there. And yeah, all good to go. They are perfect. Not leaking freeze plugs. That's exactly what I was looking for. And now, based on how I heard her run and take off, she ran beautifully. Since there is more back pressure and there's no holes from the second muffler, she runs even more smooth now, and I have no issues running her at all. So the next thing is going to be to clean her up, put her back for sale, put her under the cart cover. Now, it's a little harder to sell classic cars in this year for some reason, especially mine. I want $25,000 or best offer. So if you are watching this video and you want it, hit me up. I will be able to sell her to you. Now, if I can't sell her, I'll still be running. I'll still be running on her, okay? I'll still be running her, because she has to get her legs all, you know, like stretch her legs and run her, just so that she doesn't, you know, get stiff and have a hard time starting. Because old cars, if you leave them out for a while, they eventually will have a hard time starting. You gotta, any car, you don't leave out for a month. You gotta start them up, drive them around a little bit. But this car, I left it one time for 3 weeks. She fired right up. So these Volvos are good about that. They do fire right up, even after being left alone for a while. Not canceled. Guys, I'm Eddie B. 2006 Turn right. This particular package, driving a temp in the 6 Series.